everybody, and welcome to the Royal Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Rollison, and tonight I am joined by my very good friend, Justin Sandoval, a.k.a. Sandy. And Sandy, we unfortunately do not have Amato with us tonight.
Yeah, he passed away.
Yeah, stop.
He saw this movie and passed away.
He gave up on life after watching this movie. Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't find a way to get everyone together this week. A little bit of backstory for people who probably, I don't know if they care, but you celebrated your anniversary with your wife on Friday.
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I celebrated my anniversary with my wife on Saturday.
Yep.
So we're now recording this on Sunday, and we couldn't all get together on Thursday. We probably could have recorded, but I wouldn't have been able to watch it before Thursday. So we couldn't do Thursday. Actually, I don't think Amato could have done Thursday. And I almost didn't even watch this movie.
It was a last...
it was a very last minute.
Yeah, very super last minute.
Like,
actually.
I'm not going to be here next week, so I felt bad. I felt like I couldn't miss 2 straight weeks just for the people of the pod, for our royal listeners, you know?
The integrity is real, folks.
It is. So I suffered. This is true. I suffered through this movie through Madam Web for our listeners because I wasn't going to miss 2 weeks in a row. I will be out next week, and just a lot of scheduling stuff going on right now. So, unfortunately, no Amato this week, but... we do know that Amato did watch this movie.
Yes.
And next week when he's back, we'll be sure to get his thoughts. Or you'll be sure to get his thoughts.
Yeah, I'll get his thoughts on all that.
And maybe we'll even ask him to do a little, like...
Rewrite.
Yeah, we were talking about this. You know, Amato's got a gift. He could be a writer if he wanted to.
Yeah.
I really believe that. So I would love to see how Amato would fix this movie.
It would be pretty cool if he could actually make it good.
Because it needs a lot of fixing.
It needs the help of God himself.
God, this movie. All right. Before we get into it, thanks to everyone who's listening. It could be a scenario where so few people are listening because so few people have seen this movie because it's that bad.
Yeah, or you're listening to this because you don't want to see the movie, but you want to hear.
You want to hear our thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, if for some reason that's you, let me say this. Save yourself a lot of time. Save yourself some money. Mm-hmm. Do not go watch this movie.
Yeah, we did that for you. So
yes.
But listen to this because it's going to make you realize that you do not need to see the movie. So.
Until it's free on streaming, which Sony, it might be a while before that's the case either or as well. So
yeah.
Anyways, thanks everyone who's tuning in. We want to remind you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening and to share this podcast with your friends. Follow us on social media at Royal Geek Pod. Anyways, it's time. The Jester review of Madam Web. We have talked about Rotten Tomatoes on this podcast before.
Yes, a few times. Yeah.
I am a outspoken Rotten Tomatoes lover. I think it's the best grading scale that I connect with it very well. I think it works for me in almost every scenario. You guys aren't as high in Rotten Tomatoes, but
I'm coming around.
You're coming around. You are still able to. There's something in the water.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I see a Marvel or a DC movie get 55 to 65, I'm like, it's really not going to be enjoyable. That's when it starts to dip. If it's in the 70s, I still want to see it.
Yeah.
It gets in the 60s, 50s. I'm like, oh,
we got to buckle up.
And then it drops, and then all of a sudden, once a movie gets to like below 20, now all of a sudden
things have changed.
I want to actually see it again.
Yeah, how bad is it? Right.
That's exactly right, and that's exactly what happened with Madam Web. We were texting you, me, and Amato. Because it came out on a Wednesday, and on Monday there were still no scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
Still nothing.
And they had very limited releases for critics, like late in the game, which you have said before is usually a sign.
Yeah, they usually try to hide those as late as possible, so they don't deter people from seeing the movie.
Right, and that's what they did. And and the reviews were terrible. Yeah. So it started out at 18% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That was the start of it, too.
That was the start.
Yeah.
Which I knew was going to fluctuate. And by the time we saw the movie, it was down to 15.
Yeah.
And now it's at 13.
Wow. How low will this go?
13%.
How low will this go?
So it might not get much lower because it usually settles, after the first weekend. But, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, 13% for this movie. Justin, what the heck did we watch?
I mean, that's a great question. I asked myself that throughout the entirety of the movie.
What are we watching? No spoilers still for now.
No spoilers. Okay. But yeah, throughout the entirety of the movie, I was constantly asking myself, this cannot be real right now. Like, how did this make it past the cutting room floor? But Honestly, the biggest thing with this movie was it didn't know what it wanted to be. It thought it wanted to be a Spider-Man movie,
Yeah.
but it really did not do any justice there at all. There was just, I don't know. I feel like everyone kind of gave a B or C or D performance. Like the villain was probably the worst part of the entire movie.
The villain was so bad.
That was a hard F. Like,
yeah, the villain was so bad. Here's one review, which you got a kick of out of this the day of, so I'll read it for our listeners. One spoiler-free review from Rotten Tomatoes said, Madam Web's disastrously woven pile of flaws exceeds the descriptive limits of not only the English language, but of the very collective of contrived sound itself.
I don't know how you
That is the most, high-level burn I've ever heard.
The sound itself cannot explain or describe how
Which, when you talk about sound itself, the first thing I think of is, this is spoilery, but still no spoilers, is the villain's voice.
Oh,
which, explain again what happened
so this movie, the villain's voice, they had to go back and redub his dialogue.
Some ADR.
Yes. And the main reason was they couldn't, he didn't really do a good job in the first take with speaking clearly.
Yeah.
Because he's
French?
Thick accent. Yeah, he's got a French accent. So then they had to go back and dub it over with a more concentrated but they didn't spend the time to sync the lips up. And there was several times where his lips are moving and different words are coming out.
Yeah.
And
that's bad, dude.
And it didn't match the emotions that were on the screen. It didn't match the feel of the scene.
They tried to have his face off screen as much as possible he's talking.
Yes. Either his head's turning left or right,
or it's a shot going above his forehead or coming. Yeah, it was just, dude. Yeah, the cinematography was terrible.
So strange. Yeah. Oh yeah, very bad.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Is there anything else for the people who haven't watched it that are listening that we want to say before we get into spoilers? I know we normally dip right into spoilers.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking that a movie this bad, there's someone out there who's listening because they love us.
Yeah.
And they don't want to see the movie. What else can we say about this movie that's not specific to spoilers?
I mean, there is a lot of product placement in this movie as well.
Yeah, we can say that. That's right.
So I know some people are deterred by product placement.
Does it bother you?
It doesn't really bother me at all, but I know a lot of people.
I notice it, but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, when, for example, the Transformers are notorious for the product placement. They either have the car brands, the soda brands, the pizza brand, they have all that stuff in there. There was some pretty heavy product placement in here.
There was very heavy, and it's okay to just say it. It's not a big spoiler because now if you're listening and you haven't seen this yet, you're gonna go watch it and you're gonna be like, how many Pepsi cans can I see?
Mountain Dew Code Red.
Old school Mountain Dew Code Red. Made me really want that can.
It did. Pepsi. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
It was
Pepsi everywhere. Literally, Pepsi is a borderline Avenger.
Yes, actually, you're right. Yeah.
And you'll understand that later.
Yeah.
A lot of product placement. So they sold out. And sometimes I wonder, man, does Pepsi understand how bad this movie's going to be?
I mean, I guess any publicity is good publicity. I guess.
Well, actually, in light of what happens in this movie, it's good publicity.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They could riff off of this for a long time.
They could capitalize on it.
Yeah, they could.
You're welcome.
That's exactly. We're here for you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Another non-spoiler thing I could say is, despite this being a Marvel movie or Marvel Comics, based on Marvel Comics, it's not MCU, it's Sony. Keep that in mind. So despite it being a movie based on comics from the Sony Spider-Man universe, despite it being in a superhero action movie, there is very, 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 very little action.
That's true, actually.
There's
and if there was action, it was very fizzled out.
It was so fizzled out.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, movies, a lot of times you think of these superhero movies and you just think of awesome action sequences.
Right. Multiple.
Yeah. And there just wasn't much. So, yeah, it was missing a lot there, ladies and gentlemen. So,
and any action that they did have, didn't you notice it involved a car in some sort of way?
Yes. And I've got some thoughts on that too, which that one we'll save for the spoilers part.
Okay.
It's real specific. But But yeah, it was yeah. Okay, I think it's time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen Madam Web yet, this is your main spoiler warning. We're about to get into the spoilers portion of this review, of this Jester review. 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. You have been warned. Progressing any further, it's on you. But at the same time, we don't blame you for just sticking around and not seeing the movie because it's not good. Justin, what the hell did we watch, dude?
Yeah. Okay, so let's lay a little out there. So in our movie theater, it was us. It was us.
You and me and your boy Chuck.
My boy Chuck, yep.
Yep.
And then we had maybe 4 seats behind us. There was 2 people, and then at the very top there was 2 more people.
So there was 7 people total.
Yes.
There was 2 couples behind us, and then the 3 of us.
Yes. And so we are watching this movie, and all of these events are playing out that are absolutely outlandish. Okay. Let me just throw a couple plot points in there, and when we get to this one, the one that broke the camel's back here. Okay, so Madam Web is born in a cave in Peru with the help of magical spider people.
Yep.
Okay, that's an event that happened. We get introduced to a young Ben Parker and his sister-in-law who's pregnant with Peter Parker. All right, that's an event that should be a cool event. But the way they do this whole movie is just why. You get flashes of the 3 young actresses in their spider costumes.
Pretty early.
Yeah, in some dream sequence.
Yeah. What was the villain? Wait, hold on. What was the villain's name?
Ezekiel Sims.
Ezekiel. That's right. Okay.
And he has a flashback of
kind of a cool name.
his murder. Yeah, that was by these 3 people.
Well, no, it wasn't a flashback.
It was flash forward. Yeah, it was vision forward. Yeah, and so that happens, and then we get to a few car chases led by Dakota Johnson's character. We get a kidnapping in New York by Dakota Johnson, and then all of that goes to her. Dakota Johnson going back to Peru to find answers from the cave that she was born in.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
And then she comes back to New York.
You're just blitzkrieging this.
I'm blitzkrieg to get to this one point.
Okay.
So all of this nonsense is happening.
Oh, I know where you're going.
And Dakota Johnson's on her way back to New York, but at the exact same time,
of course,
Ben Parker's sister-in-law is giving birth to Peter, and she goes into labor.
So they got to leave their safe house.
Their safe house. The 3 girls who are being hunted by the evil Spider-Man Ezekiel Sims get into this 2-seater car where they pull the seat forward and put the pregnant lady
in the back
the back row. And as soon as that happened, the 2 people behind us got up and walked out because it made no sense.
She was sitting middle in the back seat,
pregnant, about to give birth.
Yeah. Like they made it as difficult as possible for this woman.
But all of the events that led up to that caused the people behind us to be like, "Nope, I'm out. This is it. This is too much for me. You can't put her in the front seat."
It says a lot when there's 7 people in the theater and 2 of them leave before the movie's over.
Yeah, and then the other 3 of them, 2 of us, we have a podcast, so of course we got to stick around.
Yeah, exactly.
To talk about this, but
we had to.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot about the people that left.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
It was funny because they got up as soon as they put her in the back seat, and I was like, "That's it. That's what did it. They left because of this. They put in the back seat of the car."
Dude, it was such a bad movie, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's give a little background. Dakota Johnson's the star. She plays Cassie Webb.
Yep.
Which they never called her Madam Web.
No, they never did actually.
And
that's good point.
Yeah, and maybe that's because in the comics, like she's like an old lady,
very old,
which is why you would say Madam. Mm-hmm. So maybe it'd be a little weird. So I'll give them a pass on the Madam, not saying Madam Web.
Yeah,
I won't give them a pass on that awful last scene.
So bad.
Where they try to make her kind of look like Madam Web with like the glasses.
Yes.
They put her in a wheelchair, which is funny. Think about why she's in a wheelchair.
I mean,
she's in the water after she kills.
She gets hit with a rock in her face.
Yeah, so that's why she's blind.
But why? I didn't see anything happen to her back.
What causes the paralysis?
I didn't see anything happen to her back at all.
No explanation.
Or her legs or anything like that.
No explanation.
Nothing.
Zero explanation.
Yeah.
So side note there. But anyways, that last scene was the most cringe scene of the whole movie. That was a lot of cringe in the movie.
Like, how are you doing? I see clearer than I ever have before.
More clearly than ever before.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Dakota Johnson. So when she got cast to play this, shortly after, she actually fired her agent and went to a whole different company
yes.
to represent her. And I think it's on pretty good authority that it's because she believed she was signed up to be in an MCU movie with
a
Disney,
big Spider-Man movie. Yeah,
Marvel Entertainment.
correct.
Instead, it was with Sony, which she might not have understood the differences. That's okay.
Yeah,
You don't need to, Dakota, but your agent does,
yeah.
which is why she fired her agent because she was stuck doing this movie, and it felt like an actor or an actress who did not want to be.
You should
there
see her on a
the
press
screen.
tour right now, like when she's going
Yeah.
doing all these press junkets, and she's just not into it at all. It's
Dude.
pretty great, actually. It's good TV.
Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it. Like it was a dead performance.
Oh yeah.
Like my wife, she really likes Dakota Johnson. A lot of people like her.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, she is a beautiful woman. That's why a lot of people like her.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to think because I didn't see 50 Shades of Grey. I've never seen her in anything that I know of.
Right.
And I'm trying to decipher, like, if you're looking at it from my perspective,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything with her in it, which admittedly might be my fault. But my
Probably,
observation is she was in a movie that was about sex. She's a pretty lady.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 50 Shades of Grey.
Right. Correct.
And then she's Madam Web, and she did terrible. It looked like she doesn't know how to act. She did that bad.
It was hard.
And now
the
it's-
scene that stands out the most.
Real quick. And
Yeah.
it's probably because she didn't want to be there, which I get it. I understand. I'm going to give her – I'm trying to say
Give
I'm
her a
not –
pass, yeah.
I'm going to give her a pass.
Yeah.
I'll try to watch her in something else maybe one day. But, God, it was just not a good performance.
Yeah, and the one in the scene, she was. I'll give her this. The one movie that I really, really enjoyed her in was Cha Cha Real Smooth. It's on Apple TV.
Okay.
She's good in that movie.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, great.
But anyway, the one scene that did it for me was she went back to Peru to learn more about what happened in the cave. Right.
Oh, man, yeah.
And she ends up falling into the water or being pushed into the water. And she goes through this whole vision sequence of seeing her mom and the real meaning why she was so hell bent on finding.
See? Yes.
And then the mom says the unborn baby that is in her belly right now, which is Dakota Johnson's character. It has a disease that her lifespan is not going to be that long. And as soon as she found that out, she does this like cringy look on her face, like of sadness, but it didn't come across to me as sadness. It looked like it was, I don't know. It kind of looked like pandering to me, but. And she was like, "It was me. She did it all for me." And I was like, "Oh no."
And it's like dude, yeah, man, we get in about a span of like a minute, we learn she's got this crazy bitterness towards her mom that has never, I don't think once, I think you get a couple glimpses of like she's frustrated that she didn't have memories
yeah.
of her mom.
Yeah.
But I didn't get this sense of like uber bitterness towards her.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's like, I've been harboring all this bitterness.
Yeah.
And then within like a minute, she like forgives her because of the story
It's like
of the flashback.
this hate that my mom had for me because she didn't want me.
And I
That
was
kind
like,
of thing.
where's like none of this movie made sense.
Yeah.
Her motives and her reasonings. Oh, dude, here's something that really frustrates me. Okay, so she becomes the bitter mom,
She does for these
three girls who she saves on the subway. And one of the reasons the last scene is so cringe to me when they come in with their Chinese food takeout.
Right.
One of the reasons it's so cringe is because the whole movie, it feels like Cassie is just so annoyed.
Yeah.
She's like, your parents can deal with you.
Yeah. She even tries to abandon them.
She tries to abandon them.
in a motel room.
The motel. And that's before she goes back to the diner and has a completely unexplained sequence of events.
Oh.
Where she's communicating with Ezekiel
not even being in the same room.
through a vision / flashback. The reason I don't know what to say is because I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me what happened there? Does anyone know?
What I think happened was Madam Web's the character is connected to all of the web of fate. Okay.
Okay.
And so I feel like she returned to the scene of where Ezekiel and her had touched because he tried to poison her.
Okay.
And because of that,
because they touched.
she returned to a point on the web of fate that they mentioned in the movie that we've seen her connect to, and wherever he was, which they didn't show him in his apartment or anything, but wherever he was, they were able to communicate through the web of fate. That's how I would take it. That's the only logical thing I can
But
think
see,
of.
that requires you knowing something about this character going into the movie.
Correct. Yes.
They did nothing to help you understand what was happening.
Correct. Yes.
That's so bad, dude.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, but if you didn't know the character, you would have no idea. Like, yeah, because Madam Web, for me, was introduced in the '90s with the Spider-Man TV show, which is a phenomenal cartoon show, and there is about a 4-episode arc that is absolutely top tier. Madam Web will be a favorite character of yours if you watch this series.
Good writing.
Yeah, fantastic writing. Even the last episode of that arc has probably one of the best scenes in cartoon superhero movies or superhero shows ever. Which maybe we should need to dive into that tonight. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, okay, we can maybe turn an episode on. But that reminds me, writing.
Yes,
this all comes down to writing.
It does. You know who the writers were of this movie?
The schmucks from Morbius.
Yes.
How does Sony, dude? I understand that. Look, Sony, dude. I have a Sony TV right there.
Yes, you do.
It's a phenomenal TV.
Yeah.
I have a PS5 underneath it.
Sony.
It's a phenomenal machine. I've played the Spider-Man video games. They're phenomenal.
Times, yep. Mm-hmm.
We have watched Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse on this TV.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I understand, Sony, that you have to know at this point, that live-action Spider-Man movies are not your thing.
No.
But what I don't understand, I can give you a pass. Like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, have bad writers once.
Shame
on them, on the writers.
Right.
Have them twice. Shame
on
on you, Sony. How do you have the same exact writers from Morbius
on
Madam Web?
Yeah.
And part of the problem is originally Madam Web was supposed to be in relation to the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, I heard this.
Then they wanted to they tried to rewrite it into a prequel of Tom Holland's universe, which is in the MCU. And then now what we got is who the heck knows?
Yeah, standalone kind of ish. I mean, Baby Peter he's a thing, but maybe.
Yeah, okay. So Uncle Ben's here, which Adam Scott's the only good part of this movie.
He's the 13% in this movie. He's
all 13%.
He's all 13% of this movie. Yeah. He has that. He does give some Ben Parker vibes because he's
good.
very humble and he's he's noble and he's kind of got that
although a little too noble. Like when you don't get an ounce when she drops the kids off.
Oh yeah.
There's not even a moment of her explaining it. It just cuts right to after she's theoretically explained to him what she's doing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm not going to pretend to know where you're going.
Neither will we.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I'm not going to pretend to know what's going on. Yeah, we don't know either.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Ben Parker, his sister is Mary Parker, which is
sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law.
It's his brother is Richard.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, his sister-in-law. Where the heck's Richard at then?
He was on a business trip on an airplane, flying home to see that.
Well, is it Emma? What's her name?
Emma Roberts.
Emma Roberts plays Mary, and I will say actually one scene that to me was funny just because it was so cringe, and I understand why a lot of people didn't think it was funny, but it was actually the baby shower. That was actually kind of probably one of the better parts of the whole movie.
Yeah,
in
it
fact,
was up there.
Here in a second, we're gonna have a talk about what was good in this movie. But when Cassie did not want to be in that room, it was so funny.
Yeah.
And they're playing all these games guess the name of the baby, and she's just miserable.
Yes.
But anyways, Mary Parker was in this movie, but Peter was in this movie, but they still never referenced him, even though they did everything they could to make it clear.
They almost said his name, but then flash back, and then they never said the name again. And then I really honestly thought when the baby was born and they're holding the baby in the hospital and it pans up, I thought they were going to be it's Peter or something like that, right?
Yeah,
that's his name. Or they should kind of do a weird framing of the curtain of and I thought there was going to be a spider that comes down, just like a nod, but they didn't even do that either. I don't know. They had many opportunities to say that it was Peter Parker, but
okay, hold on. In the comics, is Madam Web what is she close to Ben Parker?
No.
Okay, so this is just them. This is Sony.
Yeah,
writing
forcing
this in.
themselves. Yeah.
Okay, so explain this to me.
Madam
So,
Web though is she is kind of like a multiversal.
She's gotta be a Nexus.
She's a Nexus. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just going to say that. She's a Nexus being.
Yeah.
And she kind of is responsible for Peter becoming Spider-Man. Like she kind of put out the spiders, I guess I should say.
Okay.
But like, and Peter was kind of like the chosen one in her eyes. So like she's seen Peter, like, and knew that this guy is going to be a big deal, and he needs to be the one to harness
Yeah.
this load. But she doesn't necessarily know like Ben and Mary, that kind of thing.
Okay. But in this
Personally,
universe,
because
right.
she's been a Nexus being the whole entire time.
Okay.
And
But in this world
Yeah.
that we're watching on screen in this movie,
yeah, they're
she knows Ben.
partners. Yeah.
Okay. And then at the end of the movie, and I'm just remembering this, she's making like a comment when when those girls walk in. We haven't even talked about the 3 spider women.
No, we have not.
When they walk in with the Chinese food, and she asks about how Ben is doing, and they said, didn't she allude to like him gonna be not being a good father or something like that?
Well, no, she was asking
she made
about
a joke.
She made a joke about like how's Ben doing? And he's like, oh, he's gonna have a lot of responsibility on his hand. Like
She said that.
yeah, that's what I believe it was. Yes, referring
Madam
to
Web said that.
yes.
What a rotten. That's my point. If
It was in reference to him giving
she-
Peter the great power comes great responsibility.
Oh well, here's my thing.
yeah.
She has to know that Mary and Richard are going to die.
Yeah.
She has to.
Oh yeah. She
just
does.
went.
Yeah.
She just went all over the world to save these 3
Oh, yeah,
girls she
does.
doesn't know.
She does. Yeah.
So she's got to know about Mary and Richard and Ben. Dude,
Yep.
this is terrible, man. This is such a bad movie. Okay, why don't we talk about the 3 chicks, the 3 girls?
Okay.
Teenage.
Yes, we have
Mutant
Sydney Sweeney
Ninja.
playing Julia Cornwall, and then we have Isabella Merced is playing Anya Corazon, and then Celeste O'Connor playing Maddie Franklin.
Okay, so
And they're all playing different iterations of Spider Women.
and you could not care less about them in this whole film.
Yeah, it's bad. The vision you see that kind of sparks this whole villain's journey is from 10 years into the future, and he.
How do you know it's 10 years? Did he say it was 10 years?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't even remember that.
Well, he said that it looks like it's 10 years in the future, is what he said. Like it looks like it. He's got.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
yeah.
right because they use the
The
NSA's frickin-
yes.
dude. This is so.
He uses
abs-
NSA's aging. Let's de-age your vision by 10 years and be on the safe side. And it goes to the high schoolers.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
And they all are connected in some way or fashion. Like Dakota Johnson saves the stepmom of Sydney Sweeney's character, and then she's neighbors with Anya Corazon, and then she almost runs over Maddie Franklin.
Maddie, yeah,
And
gets slipped off by her.
yeah, and they all eventually connect up on the train, which leads to the police thinking that she's kidnapping the girls, but she's actually saving them and getting them off the train. Here's where it kind of goes awry for me a little bit. Okay, is this movie does a very, very bad job of being so direct to the audience, us as the audience, by setting up things that are happening later on. So, example here.
Okay.
She gets them in the motel room. Oh no, before the motel room. Sorry. She gets them to the woods.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Stay here. I can't protect you. I got to go and do something. If you guys leave the woods, you're probably gonna get seen." Well, 5 minutes later, they leave the woods. They get seen, and the bad guy shows up. And then later on, they're in the motel room, and Dakota Johnson is teaching them CPR. He's like, "This is
Dude,
how the most
awkward
awkward
scene.
scene. Yeah, pump, like yeah,
Dude,
well, weird
dude,
scene.
awkward
Your
scene.
turn. And he's like, "Yeah, this could save somebody's life." Later on in the movie, they have to use their CPR abilities to save Dakota
save her.
Johnson. Yeah,
Who's had to get CPR twice now in this film?
correct. Yes. Oh my gosh. And then, oh man, what? There was one more at the end too, but I'm blanking on it now. There was one more that was such a
Yeah, it was so clear they were.
Oh, they're in the warehouse.
Was it Pepsi?
No, they were in the warehouse. Oh, we gotta get the Pepsi in a little bit.
Dude, there's so much to get to.
We're
We're not gonna get to all of it.
No, they were in the warehouse, and she was referring to, like, she saw the Pepsi sign blow up and everything, and she was like you need to move out of the way kind of thing. Like she was telling one of the girls like, oh, like don't jump there, and then later on they end up jumping there, and it starts to fall, and then she has to go and save them. Like that kind of thing.
yeah.
So yeah,
Dude.
it's bad.
All right, so the three girls, they are, they're spider women.
Yes.
I don't know what makes them unique, and part of the reason we don't know anything about them is, by the way, because the movie doesn't tell us anything about them.
Nothing.
About them becoming spider women. We know that Ezekiel sees a vision of them murdering him.
Yes.
Which he then tells the chick he's hooking up with the whole vision, which is such a weird scene.
It is very scene.
God,
weird scene.
it's so weird. But anyways, these three girls, they are all, and I get it. Like you just got kind of kidnapped. You don't know what's going on, but it's got to be pretty obvious. Like you gotta listen to this adult.
Yeah.
And like they're hungry, so they go to a diner, and then they start table dancing in the corner.
Britney Spears.
To
Yeah.
Britney Spears. Another weird kind of just Sony sexualizing these three young girls.
Yeah.
That's the reason that at least one of them was cast.
There was a lot of weird like pop culture references. Like we mentioned the old school Pepsi stuff.
Yeah,
Like this takes place in 2003. But
That's right. It does. That's right.
yeah, there's
2003.
the Britney Spears song "Toxic" playing in the background, which didn't really fit the scene. It didn't for me personally. Like usually the songs
He's like, I love this song.
Yeah, so usually the songs are used to amplify the scenes and like kind of make them flow a little easier. These kind of like
So anything you think like, okay, so you know how music is used so well in like Guardians of the Galaxy and scenes.
Yes.
So take of what you know, like imagine that, and then do everything opposite.
Yes, exactly.
That's what that was.
Yeah. Well, then also there's like movies playing in the background too, and for some reason A Christmas Carol is playing in the middle of summer. Like,
Well, I understood that one though. That
Why?
was just her being sad.
but she was watching A Christmas Carol in summertime. Like, I don't know why she. Like,
Dude, my wife would do that. Like
don't-
people, you hate Christmas, Justin.
I know Christmas
no,
is
no.
my favorite
you
holiday.
hate Christmas, so
Christmas-
you would never understand why someone would watch something Christmas related outside of November, December.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
But she just saw her like.
But-
I'll defend Cassie here
But why the emphasis on the Scrooge scene? Like, what this usually that has
because she
something
was a
that-
Scrooge.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
was
I guess you're right.
That one, trust me, dude. Of a movie that has plenty of things to bicker about, I'm not going to bicker about her watching Christmas Carol. Here's something I'll bicker about.
Okay.
How about when she saves the pigeon by using her powers properly, right?
Yes.
So she sees a vision of the pigeon dying. She clearly goes back in time, and this is after these things have happened a few times now. And then she opens the window by saying to herself, "It's not going to change anything." She opens the window, and boom, the pigeon's saved because it doesn't fly into the window and die.
Right.
And then she literally said, "She's like, it didn't die."
That's right.
As if like I need to know, like the whole movie, she's like explaining to the audience
What's going on?
what's going on.
The
When
worst-
they should be explaining things we don't understand.
The worst explanation. Are you ready for this
Yeah,
one?
I'm ready.
Is when she's when she leaves the girls in the woods and she goes back to her apartment to get her mom's briefcase.
Yeah.
And she's reading about spiders and spider people, right? And she's like, well, she says out loud in a room full of nobody except for a cat.
Right.
Well, how do you know you can't climb walls unless you climb if he lets you try to climb walls? And then she literally attempts to climb the wall.
Okay, did you think she was going to climb the wall there?
I was hoping she did.
Dude, I thought she was
I
going
was
to.
hoping she did.
And maybe they got me there. But I also don't
Yeah.
know anything about her powers.
Yeah.
Could she do that?
No.
Okay.
She's mainly just like
She
clairvoyant.
sits in a chair.
That's it,
Yeah, she's
basically. Yeah.
Professor X.
Yes. Yeah.
She's the Spider-Man Professor X.
Yes.
Dude. Okay. All right, this next thing, I did not recognize it. I'm going to give credit to Reddit.
Okay.
You like that?
Yes.
Oh, that freaking sounds good, doesn't it? I'm going to give credit to Reddit here, which I spent too much time on Reddit after this movie. It was some of the best Reddit highlights of my life were a few days ago after watching this movie. Yeah, after Madam Web. Okay. As a journalism major, I went to school to study journalism. Print journalism is something that comes naturally to me. I'm not good at many things, okay?
Yeah.
Foosball's one of them. Another thing I think I'm admittedly, maybe a little pridefully saying this, but I'm good at, I think I know how to write an article, like a news article. I'm pretty good at editing. I can design a newspaper if I needed to.
Yeah.
Really
hopefully
well.
You guys are enjoying the Royal Geek newsletter that we send out every month.
Yeah, that's
for all
right.
Of our Patreon.
Subscribe to the Patreon. So Cassie kidnaps these girls, supposedly, midday in New York, drives to the woods in New Jersey, leaves them there. She says, 4 hours. I need 4 hours.
Yeah.
Okay? She leaves for about 4 hours, comes back. It's now evening. It's dark. They're in the diner. The dude that calls in for... I don't know if you thought about this, Justin. The dude that calls the police about the missing teenagers...
The trucker-looking dude?
The trucker?
Yeah.
Reads it off of a newspaper. So tell me this, Justin. How is it that a newspaper had that article
Already.
Because
they're in the same day, aren't they?
It's the same day. Newspapers run. They print overnight.
Yep.
They get delivered early morning.
Impossible.
Such a massive plot hole that admittedly I didn't recognize. It took Reddit.
Yeah.
It took Reddit, but as soon as I read that, I'm alone reading Reddit.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's right. How did that happen? They didn't explain that. Like nothing makes sense.
That's amazing. What else did you find?
Oh,
share some nuggets. Share some nuggets with me.
So much. Okay, this one's good. This one's about Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Okay, Ezekiel Sims, which again,
Hated him.
dude,
Worst. I never want to see a movie this guy's in ever again because of this.
Dude, so many.
Yeah.
He would rank so low in a total.
Yeah.
He
could have a pure French movie that rates as 1,000% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I will never watch that.
If we ever do a full Marvel DC all universes like ranking for heroes and villains,
dead last.
He potentially, I'd have to give it some thought, but he's got to be dead last or close. Anyways, this one Redditor, we'll shout out Andy51 here.
Okay.
Andy51, if you're listening, much love. He says, I love the line from the villain where he is like, they will destroy everything. Or actually, it sounds more like, they will destroy everything I built. That's the best I could do.
Honestly, that was actually really good.
Yeah, and then the guy, Andy51, he says, but like, WTF, what the F, did he build? They never explained anything about him.
He's got a sweet apartment, but that's it.
Is he a businessman, an arms dealer? Does he go out as Spider-Man at night? It's literally just him and Shush from Girls in a Room. I guess that girl plays another role. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's like they didn't explain anything about this villain. Why should we care about this villain?
I believe in the comic books he's an assassin.
He's an assassin?
I believe so.
Well, he looks talented at things.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if that's because he's got these powers. Which, by the way, isn't it kind of interesting? Like in this universe, there are already Spider-Men.
Yeah, that live in the Peruvian jungle.
Yeah.
That paint themselves red, but then they wear vines to look like spider webs.
So like, does that
when the one Peruvian guy comes down upside down and his face is just covered in vines with red, he looked absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and you only get like a split-second shot because all the shots were so quick.
Yeah,
the cinematography terrible.
That shot haunts me.
Well, you said when we were leaving the theater, you said when that one spider dude picks up Cassie's mom and starts leaping from thick branch to thick branch.
Yeah.
He's like, Justin, you literally said, I knew right in that moment we were in for a ride with this movie. Because
it's the beginning of the movie.
The cinematography was so bad.
Oh, no.
Someone said, Madam Web's superpower. So this shout out to On the Reels. Says, Madam Web's superpowers are shouting, get down.
Yep. You're right.
Because there's no... Which she doesn't need to be an action hero, but there's no action in this movie.
Yeah, because she avoids it, because she sees it coming. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have this saved, but someone else said that her only superpower. I wish I could take credit for this one.
Yeah.
That her only superpower is Grand Theft Auto, and using her vehicle as a weapon.
That's true.
Okay, here's another thing that blows me away about how bad this movie is. So first of all. Actually, Justin, do you want to talk about the taxi cab or the ambulance?
Ambulance, for sure.
Let's talk about the ambulance. So she comes back. She steals an ambulance.
Yes, she does.
Which she's comfortable in an ambulance, so that's great. She steals an ambulance, and in the meantime, she was it Times Square? It looked like Times Square.
Like Times Square. Yeah.
I'm assuming that was Times Square. That Ben gets kind of stuck in all this traffic because they turned all the lights green, so everyone's going. And literally, Cassie's driving, and I'm like, it looks like she's driving in a parking garage. Where the heck
Looks
is
like
she
a parking
going?
garage, and she's going up a ramp.
Up a ramp.
Yeah,
Then what-
in Times Square.
Then what happens, Justin?
She floors it through a brick wall that
Like
pops
straight
out
cement.
on the other side of a billboard. What, 5 stories
Yeah.
or 4 stories in the air?
Conveniently crushes Ezekiel in midair.
Midair. Yep.
And you would think that's strange if you haven't already seen her assault a man with a vehicle.
Yes.
The same dude.
Correct. He gets hit with a car
So
earlier
in the movie, she straight runs him over by blasting through the diner in the
with
taxi.
a taxi cab.
A stolen taxi cab that she has taken the plates off of, the front and back, and has been apparently, like, she drove back to her apartment, left it outside,
No plates.
no plates, drove back to New Jersey,
No plates.
no plates, ran into a diner, destroyed someone, no plates,
Yep.
went to a motel, that's
Parked it
fine.
there.
There's
Parked
plenty
it
of
there.
there's plenty of cars without plates at motels. That one isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Here's the one that doesn't make sense. She either goes to JFK, LaGuardia, or Newark International Airport
Yeah.
with this
No plates.
no
taxi
plates
cab
on this taxi
that was
cab
stolen.
That was stolen. Leaves it in some parking lot for a week.
Goes to
Peru, and then gets in this same exact stolen taxi cab that like doesn't have a bumper.
Yeah.
It's like destroyed on the front end.
Yeah.
It drives around like it just doesn't make sense.
Okay. Speaking of her in a car, I will
Yeah.
say the only enjoyable scene in this entire movie
I think I know where you're going. I hope I know where you're going.
is she's in she destroys him in the ambulance.
Yeah.
And then collects all the girls.
Yeah.
And drives away in the ambulance.
This is good.
And he's chasing them down.
This is really good,
Yes,
actually.
this is a good sequence.
And I don't know if it actually makes scientific physics
I don't know either.
sense,
I don't know either. But I'm gonna.
But
go
I
ahead.
thought it was
Yeah.
really good.
He's chasing him down, and he's jumping on car after car trying to catch up to them. And then she says, "Start the defibrillator, like get
Yep.
the AED ready."
Yep.
And when I say to put it on the roof, you put it on the roof,
The
and
ceiling of the ambulance.
but to get off the floor, right? That makes sense, right? You don't wanna
Exactly.
Get,
Don't want to be touching metal.
And so she says, get ready," and then he lands on the roof of the ambulance, and then that's when Anya Corazon puts it on the
Yeah.
roof, and he gets blown off.
It was sick.
That was the coolest part of the
That was
entire
the-
movie, but that was it.
That was the one cool part of this
Literally
movie.
it.
That
There's-
and the code red.
Oh, and seeing Code Red again. Oh man, which we should talk about the true hero of this entire movie.
Pepsi.
Pepsi.
Saves the day.
Literally, the Ezekiel Sims is killed by
The Pepsi sign.
the Pepsi P.
I thought it was the S.
Oh, was it the S?
It might have been a P. I don't know. I thought it was S because of Spider-Man.
No, the S falls before and breaks the bridge.
Is that
She
right?
then hits him onto the floor, and the P falls on him.
Even better.
Yeah. So
Pepsi is the real hero here.
Thank you, Pepsi. Continue to destroy villains in movies that are terrible.
Speaking of which, you didn't plan this. You have no idea. We're sitting across from the table right now. The next Redditor I'm shouting out is Bauermeister.
Okay.
Says, I love that these people get shout outs. They're never going to know about it.
Never gonna know about it.
Congrats to Pepsi Cola for being the strongest member of the Spider Squad. Yum. Delicious Pepsi.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Pepsi saved the day. Let's see. Gosh, there's so many. Again, I was on Reddit for so long. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I guess nobody cares enough to write up the plot on Wikipedia. So this guy didn't want to watch the movie.
Dang.
This is Salacious Dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Can somebody tell me if Dakota Johnson ends up as an old blind lady in a wheelchair at the end? he asked this. Someone responds, not old but blind on a wheelchair. She gets a firework blown up on her face underwater and she cannot walk because ... reasons.
It's so true though. We don't know why she can't walk.
How does someone else says, how does an explosion take out your eyes and spine but not kill you?
Please mention the CPR training that these three girls have.
No,
Yeah.
no, I wish.
Because the 3 girls were taught CPR by one of the best paramedics in New York.
Dude, someone said, no, this is another comment on Reddit, zero hope for Craven at this point.
Oh my gosh, this movie is going to be so doomed.
And then someone said, so that person was Cena, I think Cena of Flame.
Mm-hmm.
This person says, Takedown Corn says, holy crap, I forgot that's still a thing that's coming out. And someone else, this is great. Evil Crazy Monkey says, the fact that you had any hope for Craven at all is admirable. I envy you.
Yeah. See, okay.
Oh, yeah, keep going. Go ahead.
Craven is a thing still. I think
And Venom 3, by the way.
Yeah, Venom 3. So these are
We're getting 3 movies from Sony this year.
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, Venom 3 is I think next year. Actually.
I thought. Well, Reddit. All these guys were saying 3, but I could be wrong.
Really, this year?
You'll
okay.
have to look. But keep
Yeah, well, I'll look. But Craven. Oh gosh, dude. Craven has Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I'm a huge fan of. I really like him, and Russell Crowe.
Oh my gosh!
If these two cannot,
isn't it a good director? Do you know the director?
I forgot the director.
People were saying like if somehow Sony messes this up, but they are gonna mess it up.
They are gonna mess it up. Like I'm gonna see it just because I'm an idiot and a podcaster.
You're right.
So they're gonna mess it up. The director of this movie is where the heck is the director on this? It's probably up here. I don't even see the director on this.
Okay, well.
That's not. Oh, here. Oh, never mind. I don't even know who the heck it is. J.C. Chander. I have no idea who that is.
All right, maybe I was reading something else.
Yeah.
It was a late night when I was reading all these.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's another one on Reddit. Or do you want to talk about Craven more?
No, I just have no hope for this as well. With Russell Crowe and Aaron Taylor Johnson, I have no hope.
Someone reminded me of one of the best quotes in the whole movie from the Peruvian guy.
Oh gosh, his name is Santiago. By the way, they never say his name, but his name is Santiago.
So how do we know?
IMDb is how I know.
Only when you accept responsibility will great power come.
Oh gosh,
dude, when they said that line, I looked at you. I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
It's bad. It's bad.
This guy on Reddit says, "Thanks, Yoda."
Yeah. And that was another moment where they set the audience up because they were just idiots. Because he said, "When you master your powers, you can be in more than one place at one time." And then
she did
at
it.
the end of the movie, she projects 3 ghost versions of herself
to save
all
women.
3 girls.
Yeah,
and fights.
After he said, "You can't save all of them."
Yeah. Oh god.
Or he actually said like, "You can't save all of them."
Yeah. Like, you might be the best ADR right here, man. Let's
Thanks, man.
Oh man, so bad.
So bad. Let me see if there's any other Reddit screenshots I've got.
I don't know how much longer I want to spend talking about this.
Yeah, her walking through the woods to the diner was way faster than driving there.
Oh my gosh,
that didn't make sense either.
Great point.
That didn't make sense either, man.
No sense at all.
And then someone else says, I like how she raced to swerve dangerously around the truck carrying a huge load of lumber, only to immediately take a right. Like she could have turned if she waits like 3 seconds. She turns in no problem at all.
No problem at all. She's just able to merge in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then someone says, out of everything, all right. Out of everything you want to know, my major complaint, out of everything that I want to know, my one major complaint, does she not know how to hold or open a can of soda with like 3 question marks? So I didn't notice this. Did you notice how she was holding the cans of soda?
No, I did not.
There's so many things in Reddit. One of the reasons I want to watch this again.
Oh no.
Is because of we should get some alcohol and some pizza.
It's gonna be a lot more alcohol.
Yeah, and just watch
needed.
this again because apparently she doesn't know how to hold a can of soda. It's awkward the whole time.
Really?
And she like never opens one.
Is there any way you can hold it for me right now? Like,
I don't remember it. I don't remember
okay.
it. This was just people commenting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember her holding one time with like 2 hands.
2 hands. Yeah, it looks really weird.
I do remember that actually.
Yeah. Someone said, I love the fact that the fireworks factory catches on fire twice.
Oh.
Like this is some Looney Tunes episode.
Oh. What about Mike Epps?
Dude, Mike Epps.
So Mike Epps is in this movie out of nowhere, for me at least.
Yep.
And then they kill him.
I know.
He's the emotional driving force.
I know.
He gets killed. to help show her powers. Like, what the heck, man? Because she could have stopped him from driving away, but then she doesn't, and he drives away and gets smashed by this truck.
Dude, I know. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Poor Mike Epps, man. He deserved
better.
Well,
no. He did the right thing. He got out of the movie.
He
did
got
the right
his
thing.
money.
He got
for sure. He's happy with it. Oh, man. Someone said, I'm pretty sure Adam Scott is the only one who put any effort into this movie.
Yeah, when you're playing Ben Parker, you're going to give your A game.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
These Sony movies have got to be a money laundering scheme.
Ooh.
There's simply no other explanation.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Let's see. There's a few more. I got a few more pictures. Here we go. What time is it? All right, we should wrap this up here soon.
We should.
Yeah, from the reviews, it sounds like this movie set female-led superhero movies back 20 years.
Ooh.
Someone says, interestingly enough, the shout-out Clayton West 74. Interestingly enough, Catwoman 2004 was 20 years ago. Someone said that this was the Cats of superhero movies.
Oh, no. That's so bad.
Oh, man.
That's so bad.
Yeah, dude. This is the type of movie you show acting/film students when you give them a lesson on what not to do.
Yep. This is it. Cinematography alone can have a whole lesson on how to frame shots correctly.
Yeah.
So bad.
And that's about all I got. There's so much more on Reddit.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you want a good time,
Madam Web Reddit.
here's what you do. Wait for it to come out. If somehow you listen to this and you haven't seen the movie, here's
Hopefully
what I
we
recommend.
didn't encourage you to go see this movie. That's not the point of this.
No, that's not the point. Don't spend money. Instead, wait until it's on streaming on Netflix or something. One day it will be.
Yeah.
It'll be somewhere, even if it's on like one of those crappy apps that no one uses.
Yeah.
Tubi or whatever.
There you go.
Watch it when it's free. But here's what you got to do. Buy yourself your favorite 6-pack of beer
Or a bottle of bourbon.
or bottle of whiskey or tequila, whatever your thing is. Get yourself your favorite snacks. Buckle up for 2 hours because it's a 2-hour movie.
Insane.
It's a 2-hour movie that leaves you wondering, like, we needed so much more to understand stuff, right?
Yep.
And then when it's over, pull up Reddit, search Madam Web discussion,
Yeah.
go to the movies subreddit where they have a whole discussion thread, and just doom scroll for as long as you can because it is amazing. It's way better than the movie itself. All right, Justin, final thoughts.
This was a terrible movie. It is probably the equivalent to like.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like. It's bad.
Is this the worst? This is the worst thing we reviewed.
I think so.
Jiu-Jitsu is way better than this movie.
Way better. There's at least
There's actually some action there.
There's at least action in the movie. Yeah. This movie does it very.
No answered questions.
I'm trying to think of a
no,
comparable
no.
movie to this.
We reviewed
Marmaduke.
Marmaduke. We reviewed Marmaduke, which was definitely way worse.
Oh. Yeah.
I would much rather watch Madam Web.
Marmaduke was worse. You're right.
But this was so bad. All right.
I can't even compare this to anything. It's bad.
Sadly, again, we didn't have a motto tonight. God, I wish we were all together. But regardless of what you guys do as a topic next week when I'm gone, even if it's just a separate short episode for like 5-10 minutes of just him talking.
Yeah.
I want to hear his thoughts.
Yeah. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a reaction to Fantastic Forecasting and Deadpool trailer. And then we can just fit in what Shimada wants
Maybe
to
at the end.
Madam Web.
At the end. Don't do it at the beginning.
No. I wouldn't sour at people like that.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, that's good. All right. Well, with all that in mind, we got to. This podcast is way too long. But, again, when a movie is so bad, it actually gives you more to talk about.
I would be glad to do we'll end here, start another podcast, and just talking about how terrible the 3 young girls were, and
because we didn't even we really didn't get into that.
No, we would just spend the whole time roasting Dakota Johnson
and we could have crushed those other 3 women.
We really could crush 3 women right now.
Those poor young ladies, they were terrible.
Yeah, so bad.
I don't think they were ever set up for success, dude. Do you remember when she leaves the forest and Sydney Sweeney's character, what's her name?
Julia.
She turns around. She's like, I know Taekwondo.
Oh, out of nowhere.
Yeah. And the one girl's like, what did she? Do you remember what she said?
I think she said that you're so awkward or something like that. I honestly think she did. Yeah.
They're like, cool. And it's like, scene.
Yeah, done.
What?
Back to Dakota Johnson in the living room
driving
of her house.
Yeah. All right, we got to wrap this up. All right. Big thanks to everyone who tuned in. Come back next week to hear Amato's thoughts on this amazing, monumental film. For all that, with all that in mind, for my good friend Justin Sandoval, aka Sandy, this is T-Roll saying thank you so much for listening to the Royal Geek Podcast. We will see you next time, you peasants.